You can't sleep on the tight ends, and especially not in this 2025 class. Each season, we see young tight ends break out and return massive value for fantasy football rosters. I've got 9 tight ends that you need to watch for in the 2025 class. The tight ends are not the most exciting position, I'll be honest about that, but they do return some pretty strong value when you hit on them. The rookie big board identified Trey McBride. We loved Brock Bowers. We were in early on Sam Laporta. We have a track record of being able to identify the tight ends that are going to break out. So I'm going to give you 9 of my favorite guys, and then I'll finish the episode talking about another dozen or so tight ends that I'll be watching for over the next few months. Let's go ahead. Let's start here with tight end 1, and that is Tyler Warren, the tight end out of Penn State. Now, before I get too far into Tyler Warren, I just want to encourage folks, leave a comment on this video. Ask me about anything that I'm going to talk about. I'm happy to have a real discourse and a real conversation in the comments. Also, if this video helps you at all learn about the 2025 class, do me a favor and give the video a like. Now, let's go ahead. Let's get to Tyler Warren here. 6'6", 257 out of Penn State, former 3-star prospect. I'm a big fan of Tyler Warren. I'm going to be honest, when I watch tight ends, man, it could be difficult to get hyped up and excited, right? Because I'm looking at everything through a fantasy lens. But when you watch Tyler Warren, you get hyped up and you get excited. I promise you. If you watch one prospect's film at all in this class, watch Tyler Warren's. It is so fun. He's got excellent hands. He's got great ball tracking ability. He really does catch everything thrown his way. He's a super reliable target, and that does not change when he's playing in traffic. He's very comfortable winning in double coverage. He's very comfortable winning over the middle of the field. This is an overused term, but Tyler Warren lives up to it. He is a Swiss Army knife. He lines up around the entire field, split in, split out, hand in the dirt, out wide. Folks, he is lined up as a halfback and taken touches. He's lined up as a quarterback and has legitimately thrown the ball, played quarterback in high school, and Penn State will allow him to legitimately throw the ball. Not any double end around stuff. Takes the snap, throws the ball. One play this season against USC, Tyler Warren lines up as a center, but is eligible within the formation, goes 40 yards downfield, catches the touchdown pass. All right. Tyler Warren is the definition of a Swiss Army knife. Now, from a fantasy perspective, put him into the most creative offenses in the NFL, the Sean McVay, the Andy Reid, the Kevin O'Connell, the Mike McDaniel. Think about the type of upside he could have. And it's more than just before the catch. He wins after the catch. Warren does a great job of catching the ball in stride and turning upfield. He's got excellent contact balance after the catch, and he is absolutely elusive for a player who's 6'6", 257. He can shake a guy. He can win in tight space, so he keeps moving after first contact after the catch. Let's pair it all together here with the fact that he is a powerful, reliable run blocker. All right, he has Big Ten strength. He engages with his assignments well. He hits his assignments well. He fires off the snap, and he will drive guys back. There's going to be no hesitation for an NFL team to put his hand in the ground and to be able to contribute immediately day one in the NFL. And as a pass blocker, his athleticism shines through again. He's got a good anchor. He's got good range. He's absolutely got strength that holds up against the Big Ten, and that will translate well for NFL purposes. I expect him to be a day one draft pick. I think he's going to be the first tight end to hear his name off from the commissioner here. I don't think it's even going to be close, to be honest. I think he's a top 20 selection in that 11 to 20 range. So we're not talking about Brock Bowers level impact, but in terms of dynasty value comp, I've got him at Mark Andrews right now. So that's dynasty tight end 6. And when I talk about my value comps, I'm telling you exactly where the dynasty player that their value is equivalent to in my dynasty rankings. That's what's awesome about the rookie big board, is that you can see rookie rankings, Devy rankings, dynasty rankings, all within the same value system, so that you know exactly what your draft pick or your Devy player or your NFL draft prospect is worth in terms of dynasty fantasy football value. So there's a lot to like about Tyler Ward. And if you're enjoying this video, there's going to be a lot to like over at patreon.com/rookiebigboard. We have over 40 primary draft evaluations already completed here. Like I mentioned, those rookie Devy dynasty rankings, personalized access in the Discord. If you're watching a video on tight ends in December or January, you are the type of sicko that we love having as a part of the Rookie Big Board community. So head on over to patreon.com/rookiebigboard and get that personalized advice on the way to a fantasy football championship. All right, my tight end 2 here is Gunnar Helm, the tight end out of Texas. Not as much chatter so far about Gunnar Helm, but I think his stock is going to build very well over the next few months. He's got that Senior Bowl invite, and I think that's going to help him more folks get their eyes on him. 6'5", 250 coming out of Texas. When I watch the Texas offense, Helm really stands out to me as an X factor. Even though he doesn't have this incredible volume, he's got good stats, he's got good box score, but it's more importantly here the traits and what I'm seeing and when they turn to Helm. Don't be surprised if Gunnar Helm has a big impact on the college football playoff run. He's got good hands. He holds onto the ball well through contact. I think that's really important for a tight end here. He's winning in the short field, winning over the middle of the field with that contact, but he also is able to win on the out route. He's got good footwork. He can get defensive backs to bite, and he's got some space there working along the boundary. And Helm also uses that nice footwork to be able to win off of the post route into the midfield. So he's got some versatility to him for a guy who's coming in at 6'5", 250. Helm, I feel, turns upfield very well after the catch. He's a fluid mover, and I'm not going to act like he's the most elusive guy out there, but for a tight end, he's got a little shake, man, and that equals yak potential. It's not something we bank on from the tight end position, but that's a nice upside to see in a prospect. He finishes blocks well. He seals the edge. He's got excellent handwork, and he's got an athletic anchor here. He's good in pass protection as well. So Helm's got that two-way ability. So when I talk about, kind of ADP projections in Superflex leagues, I'm talking about Gunnar Helm as more of a mid-second round pick. And you could see that's a big teardrop from my tight end 1. I really do feel that Tyler Warren is in a class of his own. And the next 3 guys that we talk about, you could put in any order, and I think you'd have a pretty good case at this point in the process. For me, Gunnar Helm is just a little bit ahead of those other guys. And although this is a dynasty value comparison, I also could see Gunnar Helm being deployed with a similar volume level and in a similar usage way as Pat Freiermuth, where he can be a weak winner for you, but maybe he's not contributing as consistently, right, as a guy like Trey McBride, as a guy like Brock Bowers. Still, those tight end 8 through 14 in overall dynasty rankings, those guys are absolutely important, and I think Gunnar Helm has a shot to be in that range. Now, Colston Loveland is my tight end 3. I think he's the consensus tight end 2, and I absolutely want to make him my tight end 2, so this is no knock on him. I just like Gunnar Helm a little bit better. But let's get into Colston Loveland here. 6'5", 245 out of Michigan, former 4-star prospect. And we need to talk about right off the bat his sticky hands. He adjusts very well in traffic. He adjusts to off-target balls. He adjusts to underthrown balls. He extends his frame well to make catches that he has no business making. And if you watch the Michigan offense in 2024, you will see Colston Loveland making a lot of off-target receptions, all right? So I promise you the quarterback play will be a significant step better for Colston Loveland, and that really might help him adjust to the speed of the NFL game quicker. But he does move well. He's got smooth speed. He catches the ball in stride, continues upfield flawlessly, and he's got really nice field vision. So in the Michigan offense, they relied on Colston Loveland to do a lot after the catch, as well as just being that reliable target underneath. He's a willing blocker, but I will say where I knock Colston Loveland is his blocking ability. That's where he's just a little bit lower than Gunnar Helm for me, because although he's willing, he will miss his assignments too often, and he's got a really basic route tree. A lot of targets in the flat. He's doing a lot on the drags and a lot on the outs, so really the bottom of the route tree. Now, you have to be honest with yourself and say scheme and quarterback play factor into that. You look back at the 2023 tape and you can see more from Colston Loveland. So when I look at Colston Loveland, I see a prospect with high upside, high ceiling, but you are leaning into the projection, right? You're leaning into that. And that's why my value comparison here is Dallas Goedert, right? Goedert had a huge start to the season, kind of faded off. Injury did play into that a little bit. But, kind of a tight end too consistently that has some big upside. I do think the NFL values him, and that's helping his value for me, right? I do think he's still going to be a top 50 selection. Good chance he's the second tight end taken in the NFL draft. Decent chance he's taken in the back end of the first round, which could absolutely help his projection. But I think he's going to be an early second round pick. I think he's a hot name. Folks have seen him perform well in the Michigan offense, and that's going to come with a nice ADP bump for him. My tight end 4 here is Mason Taylor, the tight end out of LSU. And this is another guy who I'm a big fan of, but I'm not quite ready to get fully behind yet. But I'll definitely be leaning into Mason Taylor a good bit here as we get into the mid to late second round of rookie drafts. So he's got really nice hands. I like him as a pass catcher a ton. Taylor adjusts well to off-target balls, and he's able to extend his frame, good catch radius here when it comes to Mason Taylor building off of that 6'5", 255 frame. He's a quick mover. He builds speed well downfield, and he does have good lateral agility. I think of all the guys we're going to talk about today, Mason Taylor's in the top 2 or 3 in terms of lateral movement ability, which is a nice skill to have at 255 pounds. I do think Taylor finishes well through his blocks, seals the edge. He's got good handwork. And as a blocker, I'm talking specifically with that handwork. It helps him engage and finish through those blocks. But also, he's a really reliable pull blocker. That's kind of a not super sexy thing for fantasy football, but I think NFL teams are going to like his versatility as a blocker just as much as a pass catcher. Taylor does run a pretty basic route tree, and that's where I'm holding back a little bit here. He's got a lot of targets in the flat. He's got a lot of post routes, so he doesn't have a lot of versatility in that route tree. And unlike Colston Loveland, where you can explain that away, I would say Mason Taylor, with Garrett Nussmeier, had a pretty strong, quarterback passing him the ball. So you would like to see a little bit more versatility through that route tree. Nonetheless, I do think NFL teams are going to like Mason Taylor. I think they're going to watch the LSU film and see when Garrett Nussmeier needed a guy, he went to Mason Taylor. And I think that counts for points. I think that's a reason I'm hearing top 50 NFL draft chatter for Mason Taylor. I think he could go before Colston Loveland, but more likely than not, he's the third tight end to come off the board in the NFL draft, and probably the third tight end to come off the board in Superflex rookie ADP as well. My tight end 4, you may not be paying attention to Bowling Green, but I got to tell you, I am, because Harold Fannin Jr. is an exciting prospect to watch here. He's 6'4", 230. He's coming out of Bowling Green. 0-star recruit, was not significantly recruited at all, but gets a spot at Bowling Green and makes the most out of his time in the MAC. Now, Harold Fannin Jr., he's got reliable hands. He can win at all 3 levels of the field. I really appreciate that from a fantasy football perspective. He speeds up well, and I got to tell you, I watched his tape. We have SEC examples here for Harold Fannin, and he has good speed. It holds up well against the defensive backs. He can get to the edge. He's got lateral agility. He's got good field vision. So Fannin is winning before and after the catch. You have to appreciate that about his game. But he also wins in traffic. He's able to hold on through contact, and he separates well after, before the catch. So he's not just relying on that athleticism after the catch, but he's making it happen before the catch as well. He's a willing blocker, but he does lack the strength to hold up against Big Ten defenders here. So he's willing to get in the way. He's willing to engage, but he is overpowered. That 6'4", 230 frame, that's my biggest hesitancy with Harold Fannin. I've seen him ranked tight end 2 and for some folks, tight end 3, and I'm willing to get behind that. I understand that take, but I just think that tweener build, it's projecting a little bit of hesitancy for me. But I do want to point out here, the tape that I've talked about with Harold Fannin, we have examples of him playing against Penn State. I've got the Penn State tape. I've watched the Texas A&M tape, both from 2024. So I'm not just relying on him overpowering or outshining against MAC defenders, right? I'm comparing him against Big Ten and SEC defenses, and Fannin Jr. absolutely deserves to legitimately be in this conversation. But let's talk about tight end 6 here, who I think could be a really sneaky value, probably going off the board in the mid to late third round of your rookie drafts. And that's Terrence Ferguson out of Oregon. All right, 6'5", 255. I think he could sneak into late day 2 of the NFL draft, which could push his ADP projection up a little bit. Ferguson catches everything thrown on target here, and he adjusts well to off-target balls as well. So really reliable pass catcher, and he's a legitimate yards after catch threat, maybe more than anybody else we've talked about here so far today. He shakes defensive backs with his footwork. He's got really nice lateral agility. He's a shifty guy after the catch, and he's physical. He drops his shoulder. He's got good contact balance. He carries his momentum downfield very well, and he speeds up quickly. I'm not going to sit here and talk about, Terrence Ferguson being the fastest guy compared to some of the wide receivers, but relative to the tight end position, I think he's going to do well at the 40 at Indianapolis. I think he's going to do overall well in Indianapolis, and he gets going quickly, which is really important. So that 10 versus 40 yard split, right? He finishes through plays. He's aggressive. He wants to get those extra yards at the end of the play. As a blocker, Ferguson seals the edge well. He's physical. He's willing, and he's going to combine that with Big Ten power, good handwork. He is a consistent, reliable blocker as much as he is an exciting pass catcher and has that yards after catch upside. So Ferguson, he might be that perfect combination of value and upside here. But let's get into tight end 7 here. We're getting deep into the list, and we're going to talk about Orande Gadsden II out of Syracuse. Now, I understand completely if you want to drop a comment and tell me how I am way too low on Gadsden. I didn't expect to be here. When I went into his film review, I thought he would be tight end 2 or tight end 3, but I just saw too much of that tweener projection. But let's get into it because there's so much to like about Gadsden. I'm not hating on him at all. I definitely will still have some exposure to him. I just want that exposure in the third round, right? 6'5", 236 out of Syracuse. I think he's a really reliable target. If we're talking about him as a pass catcher, I think he could make an excellent wide receiver. We could even see that wide receiver conversion at some point because he's got good ball tracking ability. Gadsden is a fluid athlete. He's got good body control. I really like his ability to maintain balance near the sideline. He feels the sideline well. He's able to, drag those toes down, oftentimes getting 2 feet in, even though he only needs 1 at the college level, and he can extend his frame well. So he's got good presence along the boundary. You'll see Gadsden line up around the field, in line, out wide. They'll move him around. They'll put him in motion. He separates well through his routes. Again, I'm giving a lot of traits that really lean into the wide receiver side being a lot of upside. But as a blocker, with his size already being 236, there's a decent chance he weighs in actually lower than that. And then you see somebody who's an inconsistent blocker. He will miss those blocking assignments at times. He doesn't seal the edge very well. He'll lose his guys. He's not able to finish and engage through his blocks. A big tip here when you're looking and trying to project realistic draft capital, you do have a Shrine Bowl invite for Gadsden, has not gotten the Senior Bowl invite, which for me does suggest that maybe he's more of a day 3 prospect. Now, you can absolutely still get value early day 3 from the tight end position, but I think that's a realistic point to put Gadsden at right now. Tight end 8 is going to be Eli Stowers. Not a lot of hype, not a lot of conversation about Eli Stowers going into the season, but he has really stood out in the Vanderbilt offense, and I think NFL teams are going to appreciate and respect that. 6'4", 225. For me, what really stands out is his fluidity, is his versatility. He's got good hands, good ball reaction skills. He's got good concentration. By the way, I know this might sound repetitive. I'm starting off almost all of these talking about a player with a good hands and good pass catching ability. And it might sound repetitive, but it's important, folks. The tight ends, they need to be able to catch the ball. So it might sound like an assumption, but it's absolutely not an assumption. And Stowers does a good job catching the ball. I love his ability to win in traffic. He's very comfortable in traffic. He wins in contested situations. He wins in double coverage. He wins with defensive backs draped all over him very consistently. Watch the Alabama game. You're going to see a lot of examples of Stowers winning with a defensive back draped all over him. He's definitely got that yak upside that comes with the tight end position. Catches the ball in stride. Good contact balance after the catch. Good burst. He is a willing blocker. You'll see him often used as an H-back and as a lead blocker, and I think in that role he's successful. And he has enough willingness and strength to get in the way, but he does not dominate against SEC defenses, right? And so you do have a lack of strength there that I think just equivalates with a guy who's 6'4", 225. And so you're going to see a trend here with Gadsden and Stowers being a little bit lower, and even Fannin to a degree. I struggle with the tweener type tight end prospects because in the NFL, you need to be able to have a clear role to be able to have consistent volume. And without consistent volume, we can't project fantasy points. And at the end of the day, everything I do through the rookie big board, it comes down to fantasy football points, right? That's what matters. That's what's going to help you win fantasy football championships. So I like Stowers a ton. I will take some shots on him in the 4th round of my rookie drafts, but I can't prioritize him much earlier than that. And we're going to finish up here with the final guy that I'm going to fully break down before the watch list is going to be Jake Briningstool out of Clemson. I swear we've been hearing about Jake Briningstool forever. I think he's one of these guys that's not super exciting from a fantasy football perspective, but that the NFL draft community appreciates. He's going to end up, I think, with early day 3 draft capital. So he needs to be on our radar because any tight end that goes even early day 3 is probably going to land at least a 4th round Superflex rookie ADP. So let's talk about Jake Briningstool, 6'4", 240 out of Clemson. He's comfortable winning in contested situations. I think that's what stood out to me the most. That's the most exciting from a fantasy perspective. He can win in double coverage. He can adjust well to balls thrown, adjust well late at the catch point. Briningstool's a high motor athlete. He's got solid speed for a guy who's 6'6", and he does finish through the end of plays. He wins in the second level of the field. He'll win on the post route. He'll win on the go route, and he's a pretty solid blocker as well. He's good. I think he's effective. You will see him miss some assignments. You will see him struggle to seal the edge. But overall, the handwork is good. It's not the best. Again, I think Briningstool is going to be in this conversation as an experienced veteran tight end here who's going to be an early day 3 prospect. It's going to lead to a super flex ADP. But honestly, some of the guys that I'm going to talk about on the watch list are probably going to leapfrog Briningstool by the time we get to the NFL draft. So let's finish up the episode by talking about these guys here. Let's talk about the watch list, the players who I would put on this conversation. I just don't have enough tape yet, folks. All right, so I've watched a lot of tight end tape for the fact we're in mid-December, but there's more to come, and I will break down these guys in more detail on the rookie big board. If you want to be able to look at their full scouting reports, see how they fall in the 2025 rookie rankings compared to the dynasty rankings, compared to the Devy rankings, and get personalized access on these guys and everybody on your roster, trade advice, everything advice to help you win a fantasy football championship, head on over to patreon.com/rookiebigboard. The link to join our community will be in the episode description. So let's talk about the watch list guys here. Brand Keithy out of Utah. Man, I wanted to prioritize Keithy. He's an athletic tight end. I've been waiting for him for years. I was hoping he would come out last year. He returned. He's an excellent pass catcher, but the injuries have riddled his college career. And so it's going to be difficult to project an early ADP for him or an early draft capital. Bryson Nesbitt out of North Carolina. This is another one of these guys I think the NFL community really values. And from watching North Carolina live a little bit, you can see Nesbitt with some really nice hands. And he might be an example of a guy with actually better 2023 tape with better quarterback play compared to 2024 tape. Luke Lachey out of Iowa. I think he absolutely deserves a full breakdown at this point, but just not a lot of tape. And he is somebody who I think is a much better blocker than pass catcher. And so those are the guys that we kind of have to wait a little bit to get the full film on. So I think Lachey will be in the conversation more in the tight end 7-8 conversation by the time we get there. And I think he's even going to, I think there's a real good shot Lachey gets day 2 NFL draft capital, from that blocking perspective here. And we'll see how that translates for fantasy football purposes. Jackson Hawes out of Georgia Tech. He's got that Senior Bowl invite. He'll be on the radar. He's going to have a chance to shine down there in Mobile. Gavin Bartholomew out of Pitt, also with the Senior Bowl invite. Bartholomew is a guy who I've watched a little bit. When you watch Pitt games and I watch everybody. That's the thing about my process here. I spend a lot of time watching Saturdays, and Pitt pops a little bit, especially this season with Eli Holstein at the helm. New offensive scheme. You can definitely see Gavin Bartholomew being able to contribute as a pass catcher as much as a blocker. Maliki Matova out of UCLA. That's another guy with a Senior Bowl invite. We'll be talking about him a good bit more when we get into our Senior Bowl preview shows, which are coming up quickly, folks. I can't wait to get those to you in January. Elijah Arroyo out of Miami, a good athlete, pass catching upside. We've seen flashes of that on tape, so excited to get into that a little bit more. And Rivaldo Fairweather out of Auburn, not a super well-known name. He's got that Shrine Bowl invite, and we pay attention to the Shrine Bowl just as much as the Senior Bowl, because that's the thing about the Rookie Big Board is we go in depth. It's excellent analysis, but it's in-depth analysis, and I hope you felt that in-depth, excellent analysis through this episode. If you learned anything, if this helped you even a little bit learn about the 2025 class, please do me a favor, give the video a like, drop a comment, let me know what you thought about these guys. Did I leave anybody off? Definitely let me know if I left anybody off so I can talk about them on future episodes. And again, one more time, if you want to get ahead of your league mates, if you want to win those fantasy football championships, head to the link in the comments, patreon.com/rookieBigBoard. So much available for just $5 a month. There's no better way to get ahead of your league mates and win your 2025 rookie draft process